Now we've started at the bottom with roof deck types and then gone to insulations. So now we're going to move on to the actual roof systems that are present. You'll see by the chart that roofing has changed a lot over the last 10 years. Even over the last 30 years, it's been even a more dramatic change. 30 years ago, you saw built-up roofing, which is asphalt-based roofing, was the most prevalent roof system in the country and in the world. That's modified over the last several years and really changed. And over the last 10 years, if you look at the chart, EPDM, which is a rubber membrane roofing, was the most popular roof system at over 36% of the market share in 2001, has decreased dramatically down to 24%. So it's lost 50% of its market share over the last 10 years. Okay? Built-up roofing or modified roofing, which is asphalt-based roofing, had 42% of the market 10 years ago. Has now shrunk down to 24% of the total roofing market. The big increases have been in your white thermoplastic reflective roofing membranes, your TPOs and your PVCs. And we're going to talk about each one of these roof systems as we move forward. Let's first talk about the largest market segment, which is your thermoplastics. Your TPOs, which stands for thermoplastic polyolefin, and your PVC roof systems, which are your polyvinyl chloride. The big advantages to these roof systems is, as you can tell, is they're white and reflective. And in an age where we want to get the best bang for our buck from an energy perspective, and people are always looking at ways to conserve energy, you see the white roofing membranes have really taken off, especially in areas like California and the southern states, where you get many more heating days than cooling days. White roofing is obviously much better in terms of heating. If you wear a black shirt out on a hot day versus a white shirt, you notice that your black shirt gets a lot warmer and you're much hotter. If you wear a white shirt out, it's much more temperate for you. So the big advantages are not only that it's white and reflective, is that it is much more resistant to chemicals. So if you have any greases or oils or animal fats or any other types of chemicals that leach out onto your roof, this is a better roof system and holds up better than others. It's fiberglass reinforced, so it has reinforcement scrim in it, or has a reinforcement webbing in it, which makes it much more durable and puncture resistant. It has heat welded seams. This happens to be a seam sample I'm holding now, where you use a hot air welder and basically weld two seams together, creating an unbelievable bond. A seam is normally one of the weakest parts of the roof. In this case, you're turning one of the weakest parts of the roof into one of the strongest parts. I compare it to welding two pieces of iron together. Once you create that bond, it's very difficult to separate. We talked about its reflectivity. It's also very lightweight. It can be used in overlay applications. And the thermoplastics were really developed in the late 60s to mid 70s. We started out with PVC roof membranes as far as your thermoplastics, and more of the market is moving now to the TPOs. The big difference between TPOs and PVCs are PVCs have a plasticizer. When I say PVC, most of you think of PVC pipe, and it's very rigid. Okay? To make it as a roofing product, they added plasticizers to make it flexible. What happens over time with the PVCs, especially in high UV areas, is the plasticizers migrate out due to ultraviolet rays. So it starts to become more of a dry and brittle product. Okay? The TPO membranes, the thermoplastic polyolefins, don't have plasticizers in them. So you don't see that plasticizer migration that you see with the PVC membranes, which is why TPO has grown exponentially in market share versus the PVCs. You'll see the different attachment details. There's different ways to attach a thermoplastic membrane. The most commonly used way is to use mechanical fasteners and plates and fasten along the seams and then overlap those fasteners so they're encapsulated in the system so they're not visible, and then you use a hot air welder in order to seam the membranes. You can also use a hand welder or a Leister and then a roller and roll the membrane in and heat weld it that way. You'll see that on many of the penetrations that are done. The other thing you can do is utilize the details on it. The benefits to it are you can run the membrane up an entire wall. It's flexible enough to do that, so you can encapsulate walls. So a wall that could potentially be a leak issue into your building is completely encapsulated by roofing membrane, which takes that problem away. You see pre-molded pipe boots. You have also walk pads that you can install on top of the new membrane that are made out of a real thicker based TPO or PVC membrane, and those get heat welded directly to the new membrane. So at roof access points, or if you have high activity around HVAC units, you'll often see walk pads installed around those areas. So it gives the HVAC technician an opportunity to set his toolbox down, or if he's taking a door off or he's taking compressor out, he can set that on the walk pad as opposed to setting it on the roof surface itself. Other details are pretty standard, whether it be with the drains or curb details. It's a very clean looking roof once it's done. So you can fasten it down. You can also glue the membrane down to many of the insulation choices that we talked about. And those are the two main ways you can do it. But you can turn a dark roof, or maybe a darker type roof system, into a white roof. And you see this very prevalent in areas like California, where they've passed different edicts like Title 24, where you're required to actually put a white roof system on. So you've seen this roof system grow in popularity in states like those, and other general larger municipalities or metropolitan areas like Houston and Dallas, and even areas like Denver and Phoenix, where a white roof system actually contributes less to pollution and the urban heat islands that you see. So that's why you see this system more prevalent in those areas. And quite frankly, it's a very cost-effective roof system to put on, and still allows you to get long-term warranties from 20 to 30 years in most cases.